Welcome to the CE Pro podcast. I'm Arlen Schweiger, Executive Editor. In this week's episode, Chief Content Officer Jason Knott delves into the aging in place market with two industry experts. This niche market could experience a resurgence due to the coronavirus outbreak as consumers look to keep their loved ones at home versus placing them in assisted living facilities or nursing homes that have higher rates of infection. We take a look at opportunities and challenges for integrators.
Hi, Jason Knott with CE Pro, and we are here to talk about a very exciting opportunity that has become very heightened for the custom integration community, and that is aging in place and living in place. Obviously, with the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdowns, so many customers are locked in their homes, and the nursing home situation has become one that has become somewhat of a hotbed for the virus. And it really is taking what was a technology that's been hanging around this industry for 10 years and really heightened it. So with me here to talk about this today are Louie, Delaware, co-founder of the Living in Place Institute. Hi, Louie.
Hello there, how are you?
Great, and thanks for joining me today. And then also Ryan Hurd, president of Caregiver Smart Solutions. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, Jason, how you doing? Thanks for having me on today.
Thanks for being here. So before we jump into the discussion as to why this is such a heightened opportunity, let's find a little bit more about you guys and why you're experts in the space. Louie, tell us a little bit about Living in Place Institute.
Sure, Jason. The Living in Place Institute was founded back in 2013 with the idea of being able to create world-class education for a wide variety of professions who are involved in construction, design, the medical staff that helps people be able to understand what they should be doing in their homes. And what we first started with, which is our premier program, is the Certified Living in Place Professional. This is typically a 16-hour sort of course that we do either virtually, and then when we can, we do it live in person. And we again, usually these classes have a wide variety of different people from many other countries. Matter of speaking, we just got somebody signed up to take it from Greece, which is kind of a neat thing for us because we're now really well expanding outside the US-Canadian borders. But in that training, we go through the statistics so these people understand what's going on and what the trends are in this marketplace. The need for interprofessional teams where you pull together experts from different disciplines to be able to make certain that you're coming up with the best possible solution for that client, to the medical and cognitive issues that do occur with regards to aging. Then one of the things that we end up doing that a lot of people really like in our course is we have people prepare a meal, but this meal is done with limitations to their hands, and they wear glasses that simulate some of the issues that people have, like diabetic retinopathy, which is a leading cause of blindness for adults. And they're supposed to make these lunches. Their hands bound with gloves on, okay, with those glasses. And then they're supposed to be trying to open up the sort of packages that people have after they go to the grocery store, those really difficult, insidious packages of cold cuts and cheeses and potato chips and the like. It really, for these people who are going through the program, all of a sudden get this understanding is like, this is really difficult for what my clients or perhaps my family members are going through. Then we go through almost 7 hours of what we call products and wellness, the solutions for those. And again, going across many different boundaries of kitchens, baths, decks, doors, laundry rooms, and then we do talk a lot about how smart technology integrates in with all of that. And then the next part we get into is how to market yourself, because this is different. This is a different market. You don't want to necessarily come to somebody as like, somebody of your age needs this sort of thing. You're going to have the door slammed at you when you start approaching somebody that way, because you need to have it come from a kind of a reverse psychology standpoint of, well, when your friends come over, do any of them have any challenges? Oh yeah, when Bill comes over, he's using a walker, and I see how he gets up and off of rather onto and off of a chair, and he's holding that onto that walker with dear life because I see his knuckles are white. but I can't see how he is in the bathroom because he closes the door. Oh yeah, I need a grab bar there, not for me, but for my friends, because the last thing I want to see happen is for him or anybody else to get hurt as a result of you being in his house.
Yeah, you hinted on one element there, which is the technology part. And Ryan, that's where you come in. You know, Ryan is a longtime integrator, but tell us about Caregiver Smart Solutions.
Sure, Jason. So I've been in the tech industry for 29 years now, and I've actually been a CDM member since 1996. And roughly 2 years ago, my father had cancer, and me being known as Reinhard the Smart Guy and an integrator forever, figured I could find something, buy it, put it in, because I just wanted to know how my father is doing. Well, that led me down this path to realize that everything in the elderly world or the aging world, or we call it aging in place or living in place, all that technology stopped in 1990. It's the reactive. It's I've fallen and I can't get up, and all these other things. And I just want to know, the daily activities of living. Is dad up? Is he moving around? Is he taking his medicine? Is he using the bathroom? And all these other things. So I create Caregiver Smart Solutions to provide a solution for that. And the biggest difference between caregivers and being a typical integrator is we're talking about leveraging technology for a need. And unfortunately, because of COVID, what we've learned is two very important things. Number one, when a situation like this happens, you don't want to be old. And number two, we've learned that you don't want to be in an assisted living facility. So how do we enable our loved ones to live home longer and retain that independence? Because when you're talking to your loved one, there's going to be a couple of interesting things that are going to come up. And one is they're not going to want to go into that nursing home. And that makes sense. And it's because of independence. It's psychology, as you said before. And I challenge you to go back to when you got your license and you took the car out for the first time. You had your independence. Now you're never giving that back. So that's what we're talking about. So how can we, and I'll point at the CEDIA group, how can we use our knowledge and technology offerings to provide a real solution to a problem that is now magnified because of COVID?
Yeah, so let me stay on that subject with you, Ryan. I was just looking it up before we got on this call. 60% of the COVID-19 deaths in the state of Massachusetts were in nursing homes, and nationwide it's 1/3. So that's why this has really become a heightened opportunity. And for years, I think the biggest element, and again, maybe it wasn't the biggest element, but one of the key elements regarding an aging in place solution was a financial one. Because nursing homes and assisted living facilities are so much more expensive. But how has the game changed to a safety conversation now, more so with COVID-19?
Well, it's actually very interesting. So you have a couple of moving targets here. So you have, let's call it mom, that is living at home and she does not want to go into an assisted living or any facility for that matter. Well, on one hand, you have to understand the psychology. Maybe that's where you grew up, that's where the family was, that's where her friends are, that's where the social aspect is. So how do we enable that? Now, from an integrator standpoint, we can enable that with some of the technology we have, video doorbells, smart lighting. I mean, there's a bunch of things that we can do, even on the NKVA side. So there's smart microwave ovens that can help our aging loved ones live better and longer. Now you go into what's called the CCRC, assisted living, independent living, and nursing homes, and they have no technology. They need a better way to monitor their clients and their residents, because when you look at an assisted living facility, really what it is it's an apartment building with a social aspect. They've got their own place for meals. We have one actually right here in my town, and it's called Cedar Crest, and it's an amazing place. And the interesting thing is it's one of the largest. It has 1,500 residential apartments. It has 1,800 people. But now you have to think about how they're living in that place, because they've been locked down, which literally means they're not allowed to go out of their apartment. Now, when they're buying their apartments in there, they don't need the normal size of a house because they really don't have kitchens. They go down for 3 meals, and then they go out for the social aspect, and they have everything, and it's an amazing community. But when something like this comes through, they're now locked in their 700 square foot apartment, and that is not fun. So how can we enable them to live a life of independence and enable them to have a better quality of life through the use of technology? And I think technology is actually going to answer that question.
Right. So Louie, do you see the opportunity, whereas before we talked about integrators going to their customers, their client base now, and talking about their future life or their elderly parents or grandparents, and what the future might hold for them, is the opportunity now shifted to where integrators could potentially be going to these facilities like Ryan just described and talking to people about a aging in place solution for their loved one who's already in an assisted living facility and coming out of that and going back home?
Yeah, again, I'm going to go into what Ryan was saying a little further, is that yes, there is this sort of unfortunate circumstance with these people that they are now socially isolated from their friends, their peers. They have engagement periodically through the day with staff who bring in their food, maybe take their temperature, see how they're doing, whatever. But they are sequestered. They're quarantined in their room. And if you have somebody who has some mild cognition challenges, they may not remember that they're supposed to stay in their room, and they may end up becoming a person who wants to think that it's time for me to go down for breakfast where everybody else is at, and I can start my day there. My mom, unfortunately, she passed away a year ago, but I go through in my head the scenario that what would have happened if she was needed to go into some sort of other sort of circumstance instead of living by herself. What would we have done? If it happened today, I would say, look, okay, we'll bring her out here from Chicago to where I live in Colorado. We'll make the necessary modifications to the home to be able to make it so that it's safe and accessible for her, so that she has us to be able to keep an eye on her, and then for her to be able to engage with somebody on a more social basis. And again, I'm going to think that a lot of other families are thinking that same scenario, because I look in the local newspapers here and I see, and also on TV, I see a lot of ads right now for assisted and independent living facilities, because I'm guessing a lot of people are saying, this isn't for me. So bringing technology into the home, yeah, there's a lot of things that can be done. Now, I know personally, if I had thought about putting cameras up for my mom and she found out that I had cameras strategically placed through the house, I probably would have been written out of her will. Most people are not going to be wanting that sort of invasion into their privacy, whether they like to walk around in their underwear or whatever. Those sorts of human behaviors that shouldn't necessarily be seen by others. And so there's lots of potential for technology to be used in a variety of different sort of technologies. Like Ryan was mentioning, that smart microwave oven. Those instructions are really difficult to read on the packages. Yes, you have to end up using your reading glasses if necessary. But the other thing is that there's the challenge of how to be able to operate the microwave oven based upon what the instructions are saying. So be able to have that, you take your phone, you scan the box from your prepackaged meal or whatever, and it communicates to the oven. The oven knows that it's either, say, a 600 watt oven or a 900 or 1100 watt oven, and it basically makes the appropriate time changes based upon what they're cooking, so that person doesn't have to think at all about what's going on. And there's a lot of other, again, smart appliances that are out there, like induction cooktops, because if somebody leaves the burner on with nothing on it, it will turn off after a predetermined period of time, unlike an electric coil or a gas burner where now it's going to just continue using energy and can end up being a risk factor there.
So even though the safety argument has kind of come to the forefront, Louis, the cost element and the financial element of nursing homes and assisted living is still in play. Give us a quick sense of what the typical costs are out there for nursing facilities and assisted living.
Usually it's nationwide average, it's about $6,000 per month. I mean, there's other different models that are out there with regards to buying into the facility and still paying a monthly fee to it. And then when you say you move out, you get a portion of that move-in fee, if you will, back. But nonetheless, it's about $6,000 a month. And if you have some medical issues, like like with my mom, we had them disperse her medications because she would not remember if she had taken it or not, and other things that may be necessary in an assisted living sort of facility with bathing or dressing or toileting or whatever. To be able to say make a bathroom, a standard 5-foot by 8-foot bathroom, to change that into something that's going to be more appropriate for somebody who may not necessarily be wheelchair bound, but can ambulate through that bathroom. That cost is usually going to be about $30,000 to $35,000, depending on where you are in the U.S., because some markets are more expensive than others. But okay, let's do the math. If it's $36,000 or so to be able to change that bathroom, that's 6 months of living in an assisted living facility. Okay, but after that $36,000 in essence has been paid off, it's free and clear thereafter. So again, that's just one example of what would need to be done. Now, again, depending on the house, if you have, mom needs to live on the second floor, and she has a hard time walking up it, then you're having to look for other conveyance means to be able to get her up and down the stairs safely. But those like stair lifts, they can be on the order of about $4,000 to $15,000, depending on the complexity of the staircase.
All right, Ryan, let's talk about what integrators should be doing right now. Is it advisable for an integrator to just bring this into his existing AV/entertainment business? Should they be setting up some sort of separate entity? Do they need to have a branding element that really focuses on this aging in place, living in place component, a separate website, et cetera? What should they do?
Yes. I know that's a simple answer, right? Let's face it. Because of going through this, the future is going to be different. Now, what exactly does that mean? I'm not sure, but we can say that opportunities have been opened up, and an opportunity in using technology in aging place, I think, is going to be huge. More people are going to be thinking about it. We already know that there are 50 million Americans that are 65 and older right now. That's going to be almost 100 million Americans in less than 20 years. So the numbers are staggering. Now, with that said, how do we get into that? Think of it as a need, right? We've always been talking about how to sell the consumer from a lifestyle basis. The consumer doesn't care anymore about what product you're putting in the home. They don't care if it's a Sony receiver, a Yamaha receiver, a Pioneer. That does not matter. They want good surround sound and have an impactful experience. Well, now we're having the conversation about, you're worried about your aging loved one. How can we give them safety and security, i.e. video doorbell, so they can see what's on the other side of the door without them having to get up, because it's hard for them to get up, or integrating Alexa through their, let's say, honestly, their toilet bowl. There are different things out there, whether it's using voice technology to help our aging loved ones turn up and down thermostats or flush toilets or do any of those things. I think, again, it goes back to what we've been talking about for the last couple of years with CEDIA, is we need to shift the thinking to we are technologists. And that incorporates everything from Wi-Fi to helping our clients cut the cord to selling them products to enhance their life or life safety or quality of life. So yes, we need to start focusing on that. It is a niche business, just like air quality is a niche business, just like biophilia is a niche business. And I think to, let's say, have a landing page on each and present yourself as a technologist, because you're getting the phone call anyway. When the internet's not working, you're getting the phone call. When the app's not working, you're getting the phone call. So let's now embrace it and let's start focusing on how we move forward, knowing that things are changing.
Louie, what does an integrator need to do if he wants to become Living in Place Institute certified?
Oh, go to our website, livinginplace.institute, and go over to the education button, and then click on the clip tab. And we typically have 2 to 3 training classes virtually a month. And they usually are either 2, 3, or 4-day sessions based upon where we're trying a variety of different sort of durations, because some people like having it spread out over 4 days, so there's only half a day, if you will, for them each day, or to doing 2-day where they want to have that full immersion, they want to get it done with, or someone who wants to do it in between that. But that's the way to go about becoming a certified living in place professional. Again, for what you get out of this program is truly going to help you in your business long term, because this isn't going away. Again, these adult children of parents, their parents are like, for me, my parents will live 1,000 miles away from me. Every time I got a phone call from their area code, I was wondering, is it from the hospital? Is it from a first responder? Or is it from a neighbor that your dad was taken away to the hospital, or because he had a bad fall and he got a really bad head injury or whatever? I mean, these things are what people experience every day in life. And, for me, it was always worrying about what may end up happening. What might I have to do to drop everything to have to go back there to help them back at their home? And again, their house was built in the 20s, and I knew it was if you will, a lot of people call their homes death traps. It could end up being a death trap for them just because of the circumstances with low handrails, improper sort of circumstances in regards to steeper stairs, no handrails in some places. It just was a scary sort of circumstance.
Yeah, I was sharing with you guys earlier, my brother and I were just having the conversation with my mom, who's in her mid-80s and lives at home. But several years ago, we were pushing her to try and get into some sort of facility, and now we're kind of talking to each other, saying we're really glad that we didn't. And some sort of aging in place solution is what's going to be apropos. All right, Ryan Hurd, Caregiver Smart Solutions, Louie, Delaware, Living in Place Institute. Thanks for joining CE Pro today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.